The biggest mistake of my life wasn't trusting the wrong people. It was hating the man who tried to save me. If Kang Min-jae had walked into that room just 1 minute later, everything I had built would have disappeared forever. But I didn't know that then. All I knew was that he had ruined the biggest day of my life. Dubai. The Grand Meridian Hotel. Every major business magazine was there. Journalists. Investors. CEOs. Television cameras. My company, Bello Dynamics, had spent 8 years building software that helped banks detect fraud in real time. It started in a tiny office in Lagos with 3 laptops and a dream. Now I was standing on one of the biggest stages in the business world. In less than 5 minutes, I would sign a partnership with Orion Capital, one of Asia's largest investment firms. The deal would expand my company into 12 countries. I adjusted my blazer and smiled at the cameras. "You've come a long way, Ms. Bello," one reporter said. "I've still got a long way to go," I replied. The audience applauded. Across the room, executives whispered to each other. The chairman of Orion Capital stood and extended his hand. "Congratulations, Ms. Bello. Shall we make history?" I picked up the pen. Then the conference room doors opened. Every head turned. A tall man walked in wearing a charcoal suit. No rush. No panic. Just quiet confidence. His expression never changed. Behind him followed 2 lawyers. One security officer. And a woman carrying a black folder. Someone near me whispered, "Kang Min-jae." I knew the name. Everyone in international business did. CEO of Hanseong Global. One of Korea's youngest billionaires. Brilliant. Cold. Impossible to negotiate with. But why was he here? He stopped beside the table. Looked directly at me. Then at the chairman. "Don't sign that contract." The room fell silent. The chairman frowned. "This is a private event. It won't stay private for long." Min-jae placed the black folder on the table. "I suggest everyone in this room reads page 12 before making another decision." The chairman laughed. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No." His voice was calm. Almost emotionless. "It's evidence." The chairman's smile disappeared. "What evidence?" Min-jae didn't answer him. He looked at me instead. "If you sign today, you won't own your company by the end of the year." I stared at him. "Excuse me? You don't know me," I said. "I know enough. You've interrupted my event." "I know. You've embarrassed my company." "I know." My patience snapped. "And you expect me to believe you?" "No." His answer surprised me. "I expect you to verify what I'm saying." The chairman slammed his hand on the table. "Security." 2 guards moved toward Min-jae. He didn't move. Didn't argue. Didn't raise his voice. He simply slid the folder across the table. "If I'm wrong, sign the contract." The chairman hesitated. That tiny hesitation was all the journalists needed. Cameras started flashing. Whispers spread through the room. The chairman opened the folder. His face changed. First confusion. Then fear. He immediately closed it. "We're postponing today's signing." My heart dropped. "What?" "There are issues that require investigation." "No." I stood up so quickly my chair almost fell over. "What issues?" He refused to answer. Instead, he walked away with his legal team. Investors followed. Reporters chased after them. Within seconds, the room emptied. Just like that, 8 years of work, gone. I turned toward Min-jae. "You planned this." "No. You couldn't compete with me, so you destroyed the deal." "Wrong." I stepped closer. "So what was your goal?" He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said something that made me hate him even more. "You'll thank me one day." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insulting. I would rather shut down my company than thank you. He nodded once. "I know." Then he walked away. No explanation. No apology. Nothing. By evening, the story was everywhere. Nigerian CEO's billion-dollar deal collapses in Dubai. Business analysts guessed. News anchors speculated. Social media exploded. Some blamed Orion Capital. Most blamed me. Others claimed Kang Min-jae had exposed an international fraud. No one knew the truth. Neither did I. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Investors wanted answers. Employees wanted reassurance. Clients wanted explanations. I had none. Then my assistant rushed into my office. "Amina, you need to see this." She handed me a tablet. The headline made my blood boil. Hanseong Global announces expansion across Asia after Orion Capital deal collapses. I couldn't believe it. So this was his plan. My assistant frowned. "You think he stole the deal? What else explains this?" Without another word, I grabbed my car keys. I know where his hotel is. An hour later, I stormed into the hotel's executive lounge. He was sitting by the window, drinking coffee, reading financial reports. As if he hadn't destroyed someone's future yesterday. I walked straight to his table. Every executive nearby stopped talking. I slammed the newspaper in front of him. "You won." He looked at the headline, then back at me. "I didn't." "Stop pretending." "I don't pretend." "You stole my future." "No." "You stole my investors." "No." "You stole my company." That finally made him look up. "I've taken nothing from you. You're lying." He slowly stood. People around us began recording with their phones. He leaned in just enough for only me to hear. "If I wanted your company, I wouldn't need tricks. I'd simply buy it." I slapped his newspaper off the table. The lounge went silent. His security team took one step forward. He raised a finger. They stopped. He looked back at me. Still calm. Still unreadable. "I understand why you're angry." "No, you don't." "I do. You destroyed everything." He looked at me for a few seconds, then quietly said, "No. I stopped someone else from doing it." Before I could ask what he meant, his phone rang. He answered, listened. His face changed for the first time. Just slightly. He ended the call, then looked straight at me. "They've started earlier than I expected." My heart skipped. "What are you talking about?" He ignored my question. Instead, he grabbed his jacket, looked me in the eyes, and said, "If you go back to your office today, don't trust anyone." He walked away before I could stop him. If Kang Min-jae wasn't the man destroying my company, then who was? Before we uncover that answer, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. It helps more than you know, and trust me, the biggest twists are still ahead. As I stood there replaying his warning in my head, one question refused to leave my mind. Why would the man I hated warn me that the real danger was already inside my company? By the time my flight landed in Lagos, I had convinced myself Kang Min-jae was playing another game. Don't trust anyone. It sounded dramatic, calculated. Exactly the kind of thing a ruthless CEO would say before making his next move. I wasn't going to fall for it. The moment I arrived at Bello Dynamics, something felt wrong. The reception area was unusually quiet. Employees who normally greeted me avoided eye contact. My assistant, Tolu, rushed toward me. "Amina, thank God you're here." "What happened?" "Our servers went down 30 minutes ago." My stomach tightened. "What?" "The backup servers too." I didn't wait for the elevator. I ran upstairs. The IT department looked like a war zone. Engineers shouted across the room. Screens flashed error messages. Phones wouldn't stop ringing. "Talk to me," I shouted. My head of IT looked exhausted. "Someone deleted critical files." "Deleted?" He nodded. "And whoever did it knew exactly what they were looking for." "Can we recover them?" "We're trying." Trying. The one word every CEO hates hearing during a crisis. My phone rang. It was our biggest banking client. "Amina, tell me the news isn't true." "What news?" "Someone posted online that your security software has been compromised." My heart skipped. "That's false." "I hope so." He hung up. Another call came in. Then another. Then another. Within 20 minutes, 3 major clients suspended their contracts. Someone wasn't just attacking my systems. They were destroying my reputation. I walked into my office and closed the door. For the first time in years, I felt powerless. Then my eyes landed on a brown envelope sitting on my desk. No name, no stamp, no signature. Just one sentence written across it. You should have listened to him. I froze. Slowly, I opened it. Inside was a flash drive. Nothing else. I plugged it into my laptop. A video appeared. The recording showed a meeting room. 3 weeks earlier. I frowned. Why would someone send me this? Then I recognized the people inside. Executives from Orion Capital. Kang Min-jae. I leaned closer. One of Orion's directors smiled. So, Ms. Bello has agreed. Min-jae didn't smile back. Has she completed due diligence? The room became quiet. Another executive laughed. She doesn't need to know everything. My eyebrows narrowed. Min-jae stood. If that's your strategy, Hanseong Global is withdrawing. One of the directors frowned. You're willing to lose billions? I'm willing to lose money. He picked up his briefcase. I'm not willing to commit fraud. Fraud? The video ended. I stared at the screen. And again. That meeting happened before the signing ceremony. He had walked away. He never joined them. Why had Orion still announced a partnership with us? My thoughts were interrupted by shouting outside. I opened my office door. 2 security officers were holding one of our accountants. He was trying to escape. What happened? My finance director answered. He was caught copying confidential financial records. The accountant looked terrified. I can explain. Then explain. He lowered his head. They paid me. Who? I don't know. Liar. I swear. They contacted me online. They said they only wanted financial reports. Nothing else. Please. I needed the money. I looked at security. Call the police. He collapsed to his knees. I'm sorry. But I wasn't listening anymore. Someone had reached inside my company. Just like Min-jae warned. My office phone rang. A known number. I answered. Silence. You finally watched the video. My heart stopped. Kang. Yes. How did you get this number? I have many numbers. You've been watching me? No. I've been trying to keep you alive. I almost laughed. My company is falling apart because of you. No. It started long before we met. I wanted to argue. But the evidence on my laptop said otherwise. He continued. Tell me. Has someone inside your company been caught today? I looked through the glass wall. The accountant was being led away. How did you know? I guessed. No. You knew. He didn't answer. Instead, he asked another question. Did they steal software? No. Money? No. Client information? No. He became very quiet. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. Then they're still looking. What are they looking for? I don't know yet. You expect me to believe that? If I knew, I wouldn't be calling. I leaned against my desk. Everything suddenly felt bigger than a failed business deal. Why are you helping me? A long silence followed. Finally, he answered. Because if they destroy your company, mine is next. The call ended. I stared at my phone. For the first time, I wasn't sure who my enemy was anymore. 3 days later, an emergency meeting was held in Singapore. The International Technology Alliance had summoned both our companies. Attendance was mandatory. I walked into the boardroom. So did Kang Min-jae. We ignored each other. The chairwoman looked around the table. Thank you for coming. She folded her hands. Someone is attempting to destabilize 2 of our strongest member companies. No one spoke. She continued. Until this investigation is complete, both companies are suspended from bidding on international contracts. The room erupted. What? You can't do that. This is ridiculous. The chairwoman raised a hand. There is only one solution. I already hated whatever she was about to say. You will work together. I looked at her in disbelief. No. She didn't even blink. This is not a request. I turned toward Min-jae. For the first time, He looked just as unhappy as I was. The chairwoman slid a document across the table. 90 days. If you identify whoever is behind these attacks, your companies will be reinstated. If you fail, she paused, neither of your companies will survive. I pushed the document back. I'd rather lose everything. So would I. The voice came from beside me. Min-jae. He looked directly at the chairwoman. But we don't always get what we'd rather have. For the first time since we met, we agreed on something. Neither of us wanted this partnership, but neither of us had a choice. As we walked out of the meeting, I turned to him. This changes nothing. I know. I still don't trust you. I know. I still think you're hiding something. He gave a faint nod. So do I. I frowned. What does that mean? He looked past me toward the crowded hallway, then quietly said, because someone in this building is listening to us right now. I turned instantly. Hundreds of people. Executives. Assistants. Security officers. Business reporters. Every face looked ordinary. Every face looked innocent. But one of them had just stopped walking. The moment Min-jae spoke. Who was secretly watching us, and how long had they been one step ahead of us? I turned toward the hallway. The man who had stopped walking was already gone. I pushed through the crowd. Excuse me. Move. Did anyone see where he went? Blank faces. Shrugs. Nothing. By the time I reached the lobby, the revolving doors were still spinning. Whoever he was, he had disappeared. Behind me, Kang Min-jae spoke without raising his voice. You won't catch him. I turned sharply. You knew he'd run. I knew he'd never stay long enough to be questioned. You keep acting like you're 10 steps ahead. No. He looked around the lobby. I'm usually 12. I rolled my eyes. You really enjoy being impossible. I enjoy staying alive. I started walking toward the exit. I'm not riding with you. I wasn't going to ask. 10 seconds later, the chairwoman's assistant caught up with us. Mr. Kang. Ms. Bello. We stopped. The board has arranged one operations office for both companies. I laughed. No. You'll share it for 90 days. No. The decision is final. She handed each of us a key card and walked away. I looked at Min-jae. This is a nightmare. It could be worse. How? You could actually like me. I stared at him. For the first time. Was that sarcasm? Before I could answer, he walked away. The Joint Operations Office overlooked Marina Bay. One conference room. One strategy room. One security team. One coffee machine. Apparently, the board believed shared coffee solved corporate wars. The first meeting lasted exactly 4 minutes. Your cybersecurity is outdated, Min-jae said. My cybersecurity won awards. It also got breached. So did yours. Yes. But mine wasn't because of weak encryption. I folded my arms. And how do you know mine was? I didn't say that. I blinked. He had trapped me. You enjoy this, don't you? No. You're smiling. I'm not. You almost smiled. That was a muscle movement. I sighed. This is going to be a very long 90 days. 3 hours later, our teams finally compared the attacks. The similarities were impossible to ignore. Both companies had lost. Internal files. Client confidence. Major contracts. But something else stood out. Nothing valuable had actually been stolen. No money. No patents. No source code. Min-jae tapped the screen. Doesn't that bother you? What? If someone breaks into your house and leaves your jewelry behind, what were they really looking for? The room became quiet. He was right. None of this made sense. One of my analysts interrupted. We found something. Everyone turned. She projected 2 employee access logs onto the screen. One belonged to Bello Dynamics. The other, Hanseong Global. Both showed unauthorized access. Different countries. Different systems. Same time. Same minute. Min-jae leaned closer. That's impossible. Why? She zoomed in. Because Both logins used the exact same encryption signature. I frowned. What does that mean? It means... She swallowed. The same person accessed both companies. Silence. I looked at Min-jae. He looked back at me. Neither of us spoke. That evening, I stayed behind to review more files. The office was almost empty. Min-jae was still working. Neither of us acknowledged the other. Around 9 p.m., the lights suddenly went out. Everything went black. Emergency lights flashed red. Security alarms echoed through the building. What now? I muttered. Min-jae was already standing. Stay here. I don't take orders. Good. Then don't move. What? If they're inside, they'll expect you to chase them. I hated admitting it, but he had a point. Security rushed through the corridors. Minutes later, the power returned. Nothing seemed missing, until one of the guards ran into the room. Someone entered the archives. We both ran. The archive door was open. Cabinets untouched. Computers untouched. Empty. The guard looked confused. That's strange. What? The thief ignored everything else. What was in the drawer? He checked the inventory, then frowned. Visitor records. I looked at Min-jae. He was already thinking. They don't want information. They want identities. I frowned. What identities? He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed the visitor log from 6 months earlier. His expression changed. What? He turned the file toward me. 2 names had been highlighted. And his. Someone had been tracking us. Long before we ever met. The next morning, we visited Orion Capital's former regional office. It had been abandoned. Employees gone. Computers removed. The place looked empty. Too empty. As we searched the building, I noticed a framed photograph hanging crookedly on the wall. Something felt off. I removed it. Behind it, a small safe. Min-jae looked at me. Nice catch. I noticed details. I've noticed. The safe wasn't locked. Inside, there was only one item. A USB drive. I smiled. Looks like we finally caught a break. Min-jae didn't smile. Or someone wants us to think we did. Back at the office, our analyst opened the drive. A single video appeared. The screen showed a masked figure. His voice was distorted. If you're watching this, you're finally working together. Neither of us moved. The figure continued. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. A chill ran through my body. What? The masked man laughed softly. You think you've been playing against each other. You haven't. I've been playing both of you. The video cut to surveillance footage. Leaving my Lagos office. Min-jae. Entering his Seoul headquarters. Different dates. Different countries. Someone had been watching us for months. Then the figure said something that made everyone in the room freeze. The next betrayal won't come from your companies. It'll come from your family. The screen went black. No one spoke. My phone vibrated. A message from my older brother. Call me. It's urgent. At the exact moment, Min-jae's phone rang too. Min-jae's phone rang too. He answered. His face lost every trace of calm. He looked at me, then quietly said, "They've just arrested my father." I stared at him. My brother wanted to talk. His father had just been arrested. And somehow, the masked stranger already knew both things would happen. How could someone predict our family's next move before we even knew what was happening ourselves? For the first time since this nightmare began, Kang Min-jae looked shaken. Not angry. Not cold. Shaken. He ended the call without saying another word. My father has been arrested for corporate fraud. I frowned. That's impossible. So is half of what's happened this week. At the same moment, my phone rang again. My brother. David. I answered immediately. David, what's going on? His voice was shaking. Amina, don't come home. My heart skipped. Why? The Economic Crimes Unit just searched your house. What? They have a warrant. For what? They believe Bello Dynamics has been financing shell companies. I felt the floor disappear beneath me. That's ridiculous. I know. They've frozen some of your personal accounts. The call ended. For a few seconds, neither Min-jae nor I spoke. Then he looked at me. They're trying to isolate us. You still think this is one person? No. I think it's an organization. Within hours, every news channel carried the same story. Korean CEO's father arrested. Nigerian tech CEO under financial investigation. Someone had destroyed both our reputations overnight. Our company's stock prices dropped. Investors disappeared. Clients demanded answers. It was exactly what the masked man wanted. Confusion. Distrust. That evening, Min-jae asked me to meet him on the rooftop of the building. I found something. I crossed my arms. This better be good. It is. He handed me a folder. Inside were financial records, emails, wire transfers, company registrations, everything connected to shell corporations. I flipped through the pages, then stopped. One signature looked familiar. Too familiar. No. I whispered. It can't be. What? I turned another page. There it was again. The authorization code belonged to Bello Dynamics. But I had never approved it. Someone inside my company had been signing documents using my digital identity. For months. I looked up. You think one of my executives did this? I know they did. Who? I don't know yet. But they're very close to you. The next morning, I called an emergency board meeting. Every executive was present. Every department head. Every senior manager. I looked around the room. I have one question. No one spoke. Who has been using my authorization code? Silence. I placed the forged documents on the table. If you confess now, I'll hear you out. Nothing. I watched every face. Some looked confused. Others looked offended. One person looked nervous. Not terrified. Just uncomfortable. It was my chief financial officer, Mr. Adeyemi. He noticed me looking. Immediately, he forced a smile. Too late. I had already seen it. After the meeting, I asked him to stay behind. The moment the door closed. Beth, how long have you worked for me? 7 years. And in those 7 years, have I ever given you a reason not to trust me? He looked hurt. Never. Then why are you lying? His face changed. Only for a second. But I saw it. I don't know what you're talking about. I slid the documents across the table. He didn't even look at them. That told me everything. He already knew what was inside. Security entered. Mr. Adeyemi suddenly stood. You don't understand. Then explain. You can't. Try me. He lowered his head. Finally, they offered me money. Who? I never met them. They contacted me through encrypted messages. What did they want? They only wanted your authorization code. My stomach tightened. You gave it to them? I thought they were competitors trying to copy financial reports. You sold access to my identity. Tears filled his eyes. I'm sorry. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to shout. Instead, I just felt tired. Security escorted him away. As he reached the door, he turned back. Amina. They said if I didn't help, they'd kill my daughter. The room fell silent. The door closed. I couldn't move. For the first time, I realized the people behind this weren't just buying loyalty. They were buying fear. That night, I met Min-jae again. I told him everything. He listened quietly. When I finished, did he ever meet them? No. Did he hear their real voices? No. So they left no fingerprints. Exactly. He nodded slowly. They're professionals. He pulled a document from his briefcase. My turn. I looked down. It was the investigation into his father's arrest. My eyes widened. Every piece of evidence, every bank transfer, every forged signature, had been created only 6 weeks earlier. Someone had manufactured an entire criminal case. His father was innocent, just like I was. I looked at him. I'm sorry. For what? I judged you. You had a reason. No. I judged you before I knew the truth. For the first time, he smiled. A real smile. But genuine. It took you long enough. I laughed. The first real laugh I'd had in weeks. It caught both of us by surprise. The next morning, our digital forensics team burst into the office. We found something. We hurried into the conference room. The lead analyst projected a world map. Hundreds of cyberattacks. Dozens of fake companies. One hidden network. Everything led back to one address. Zurich, Switzerland. Min-jae frowned. That's not possible. Why? Because that address belongs to a company that doesn't exist anymore. The analyst zoomed in. It existed. Until 5 years ago. What happened? It was bought. By who? She clicked one final file. The name appeared on the screen. I felt every ounce of blood leave my face. Not because I knew the company, but because I knew the man who owned it. David.my older brother. I stared at the screen. No. That's impossible. He'd never do this. At that exact moment, my phone rang. David, again. My hand trembled as I answered. Before I could speak, he whispered, Amina. If you trust me, don't tell Kang Min-jae where you are. The call ended. I slowly looked up. Min-jae was already watching me. He knew. He knew my brother had called. But he didn't know what David had just said. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who I was supposed to believe anymore. Had my own brother betrayed me, or was someone trying to turn us against each other one last time? I stared at my phone. David had never lied to me before. Not once. But neither had Kang Min-jae. At least, not since this nightmare began. I looked at him. My brother just called. I guessed. He told me not to tell you where I am. Min-jae didn't react. Instead, he asked one question. Do you trust him? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I don't know. He nodded. That's an honest answer. For the first time, I realized something. The man I had spent months calling my enemy had never once asked me to trust him. He had simply kept giving me reasons to. An hour later, David agreed to meet me. Alone. An abandoned warehouse near the Lagos waterfront. Against every instinct, I went. Min-jae insisted on staying behind. If this is a trap, you'll need someone outside. I didn't argue. The warehouse door creaked open. David was already inside. He looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in days. The moment he saw me, he hugged me. I'm sorry. I pushed him back. For what? For dragging you into this. You own that company in Zurich. Yes. My heart sank. So it's true. No. It's not what you think. He reached into his bag and handed me a folder. I bought that company 5 years ago. It was already bankrupt. I wanted its software patents. But 6 months ago, someone stole its corporate identity. I opened the documents. Everything matched. The company name. The registration number. The signatures. Except, the ownership records had been altered. Someone had rewritten history. David looked at me. They're using my company as a mask. Before I could answer, a slow clap echoed through the warehouse. Someone stepped out of the shadows. Then another. Then another. 6 people. All dressed in black. The man in front removed his gloves. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. I had never seen him before. But somehow, he knew my name. Hello, Amina. He turned to David. You've been very disappointing. David stepped in front of me. Run. I didn't. Instead, I looked straight at the stranger. Who are you? He smiled. I'm the reason you met Kang Min-jae. My heart stopped. What? You think your partnership was an accident? It wasn't. I designed it. He laughed softly. You were never the targets. Your companies weren't the targets. You were. I frowned. Why? Because separately, you were dangerous. But together, you became unstoppable. His smile disappeared. So I made sure you hated each other first. Every insult, every fake document, every leaked file. Every scandal, every attack, everything had been planned. Not to destroy our companies, but to keep us divided. Suddenly, glass shattered. The warehouse lights went out. Voices shouted. Then I heard a familiar voice. Amina. Min-jae. He hadn't stayed behind. He had followed me. The warehouse erupted into chaos. The masked men scattered. Security officers rushed inside. The stranger tried to escape. David tackled him. Both men crashed into a stack of wooden crates. The stranger pulled out a knife. Time slowed. Without thinking, I grabbed a metal pipe lying on the floor. He swung at David. I struck his arm. The knife hit the ground. Min-jae reached them first. Together, the three of us restrained him until the police arrived. It was over. Finally, it was over. The investigation lasted 3 months. The truth shocked everyone. The so-called investment company, the shell corporations, the cyberhacks, the fake arrests, they were all part of an international corporate crime syndicate that manipulated successful businesses into destroying each other before taking them over at a fraction of their value. They had done it before. This time, they failed. Every charge against me was dropped. Every charge against Min-jae's father was dismissed. David's name was cleared. Mr. Adeyemi testified against the syndicate after authorities protected his family. For the first time in months, I could finally breathe. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of our new regional headquarters in Seoul. Not Bello Dynamics. Not Hanseong Global. Both logos stood side by side. 2 independent companies. 1 strategic alliance. Exactly as we had agreed. No mergers. No buyouts. No one lost their identity. We had simply become stronger together. Min-jae walked onto the balcony carrying 2 cups of coffee. You still don't drink yours with sugar? No. You still ask questions you already know the answer to? He smiled. I do. I took the coffee. We looked over the city in comfortable silence. Then I laughed. What? The first time we met. I wanted to throw you out of a window. You tried. I considered it. I noticed. I looked at him. You know, I never thanked you. You don't have to. Yes. I do. If you hadn't walked into that conference room, I would have signed that contract. I would have lost everything. He shook his head. No. You would have lost more than your company. You would have lost yourself trying to save it. His words stayed with me. Because they were true. I spent years believing strength meant fighting every battle alone. He taught me something different. Real strength isn't refusing help. It's recognizing someone who stands beside you. Not above you. Not behind you. Beside you. I reached for his hand. Not because I needed saving. Not because he needed me. But because somewhere between all the arguments, the sleepless nights, the betrayals, and the impossible choices, my greatest enemy had quietly become the person I trusted most. He looked at our hands, then at me. So, does this mean you don't hate me anymore? I smiled. I still think you're annoyingly calm. I'll take that as progress. It is. He laughed. So, dinner? I pretended to think about it. I suppose I owe you 1. You owe me at least 3. Don't push your luck. We walked back inside together. Still teasing. Still challenging each other. Still refusing to let the other win every argument. Some things never changed. Maybe that was the best part.